Salutare, salutare! Bine ați venit la Degustare! Rime alese pe sprânceană. Sper că v-a fost dor de noi. Am avut și noi un mic concediu pe care l-am terminat mult prea rapid. A fost un concediu fabulos pentru că jumate din el l-am petrecut făcând ceea ce ne place, și anume mergând în vizite la crame, unde experiențele au fost variate, dar minunate. Se pare că în seara asta sunt cu rimele la mine. O să-l avem alături de noi. Deja sunt cum se cheamă, în backstage. Este Olivier, este Marina și ei vă vor vorbi despre vinurile din Sonoma County și vinurile californiene, pentru că săptămânile astea pe despre vin avem oaspeți americani. Românii sunt gazde bune și am zis de ce nu, pentru că noi, ca și entuziaști ai vinului, de multe ori ne degustăm prin cărcimile de vin cu fabuloasele vinuri californiene. Nu o să o lălăi prea mult, ca de obicei. După cum știți, eu sunt ăla exilat în bucătărie. Așa arată, cum să zic, ierarhia în casa noastră. Marina stă, bine mersi, în living, cu decor frumos, cu toate alea. Eu sunt la cratiță. Acum am făcut o mică pauză din spălat vase ca să intru un pic în live, să facem acest intro. După care, ca de obicei, după ce invit în scenă pe Olivier și pe Marina, eu o să mă retrag. Însă, de data asta e bine să știți că am și eu în pahare din toate vinurile pe care le vom degusta în seara asta, așa că nu o să mai salivez pe lângă bând apă sau uitându-mă cu gin. Și fără alte adaosuri, lăsați-mă să îi invit pe Marina și pe Olivier în scenă alături de mine. Bam. Hello, Marina. Hello, Olivier.
Hello.
And by the way, I forgot to tell you guys, this evening we're going to speak English because Olivier didn't learn Romanian yet. If we keep buying American wines and
I have to come
to Romania, to the beautiful Romanian girls and great food and beautiful country, of course, he will start to learn a few words of it.
Nice.
Guys, it's up to you to take our viewers a bit through Sonoma County, through Jackson family, through Kendall, through La Crema, through the great wines we're going to taste this evening. As usual, I will give you the background, but guys, and I'm talking to the viewers now, should any question you want, I mean, absolutely any. Olivier and Marina are here to answer them as good as possible. Let's hope you're going to put them on the spot. But so I'm sure they will come back with the right answer as soon as possible. So without further ado, guys, the floor is yours. I'm out.
Perfect.
We will invite Alex later because now he's drinking. Alex had 3 months of non-drinking, and he was just helping me with the streaming yard. But now he started after the holiday with the full range of American wine. So I think he will be very happy tonight. Thank you, Olivier, for accepting our invitation to be here tonight with us and to speak to Romanian wine lovers about American wines. I have to say that I find them very interesting, and I think that Romanian people, if get to know them better, will fall in love of some of them. But for sure, they are difficult to be understood because California is such a long way of a lot of avas and regions, sub-regions, and a lot of great wines, and you don't know what to pick. So tell us a bit about you first. So Olivier represents Jackson Wines, which
Yes,
is
exactly.
one of the biggest companies producing wine in US, right?
In US, I think is the 9th biggest wine company in USA. But as well, the big strength of Jackson family, they are very focused on the quality wines with quality vineyard. And so me, I joined the company 2 years ago. Before I was a sommelier in London, in UK, and I start to work more for Jackson family. So since 2 years, and mainly work in UK, but sometimes time per time I go in Europe, like a more Nordic country or Netherlands or Ireland as well. So it's a bit different job, but very interesting as well.
Great. So, did you travel to the wineries or some of the wineries?
Yeah, we are lucky. We are quite lucky with this company because we do our sales meeting once per year. So usually it's in July. So not this year, but the two previous years we did it. And it was my first time in USA. So we did a big trip. So we take a few days before, we go to Sonoma and Napa Valley, so north of San Francisco. And after we visit some wineries in the south, in Santa Barbara. And so it was a very nice things to do. So the company is mainly focused California, but there are as well some nice winery in Oregon that I think I wanted to go after maybe next time.
Yeah, Pinot Noir from Oregon is very famous in the world. So not really in Romania because we are not a country that it's very fond of Pinot Noir. But hopefully we will understand more what's about with this grape variety and fall in love with it. And what is your opinion? What is the main difference or the main characteristic between the American vineyards versus the European ones?
I think at the beginning it was really that we say the difference between old world and new world. I mean that old world, like in Europe, France, Spain, Italy, we tend to have wine with more acidity, with less alcohol, less generosity, if you can say, and the tannin a bit more drier and tight. And when in new world, like California, but it could be Australia or South America, we tend to have some fruit a little bit more ripe, more creamy. And you have a little bit more less acidity and a little bit more structure and the impression of sweet tannin, a ripe tannin, ripe structure at the back of the palate. But now I think we are a little bit at the end of that because now in California, and especially in California, they're looking for the top vineyard, and usually they stop to produce wine more in the valley and they're looking for the best terroir on the mountain. And when mountain is here, you're going to have more the structure and much more the European effect. So when you're going to test our wine today, for example, the last one is a Cabernet Sauvignon. Is many of the fruit come from the mountains. So you're going to feel a little bit this kind of Bordeaux-ish character that can be surprising if you test the wine blind tasting.
Looking forward to taste it. I think I tasted the Kendall Jackson wines 2 or 3 years ago, but I don't remember if I had the Cabernet Sauvignon. For sure I had the Chardonnay, so looking forward. For me, it's like, I think in all the world, due to the climate change, the people are trying to go up with the vineyards because now the people that started to drink a lot of wine, they know, and the taste is change. You know, I say you start with very old Chardonnay because you want to feel the some flavor, some intensity, some depth, and then once you had 3, 4, 5 years of tasting a lot of wines, you will go and understand the Pinot Noir. So I think it happens in all the countries, and for sure in New World also, and also in Romania. I'm saying that Romania, in terms of wine production, is like a New World country in an old world region, because the same happened here. A lot of structure, a lot of flavors, people enjoy it, but from year to year, the vineyard, the winemakers try to maybe harvest early, maybe do different things in the winery to preserve the freshness of the fruit and the acidity.
Yeah, no, it's true. Well, yeah, it's true. But I remember after Romania, we say that, but it's quite old country. I think in one time it was one of the country who produced a lot of wine in Europe, and in terms of quality as well, and maybe a little bit more. They like as well a little bit more ripe. I think people like a little bit more in USA. They like a little bit this kind of sweet taste. So that's why I think the match as well with one from California is quite interesting today. and see and compare. And we are here to answer to any question. So if people have any question between different grapes, and that could be fun as well.
Great. So let's start telling the people what they have to know about California, about Jackson family as company, and then let's taste some wines. I'm looking forward to taste the wines.
Yeah, sure. So maybe first I will start with Jackson family. So me, I started in the company 2 years ago. So Jackson family is a family-owned wine business. It was created by Jess Jackson. So Jess Jackson were living in San Francisco at this time, and it was he didn't know really what he wanted to do. He make different kind of job, and at one point he became a policeman in San Francisco, and it all started like that. And after he decided maybe he wanted to push himself, and he made some studies when he was policeman, and he became lawyer. And he was very successful. And when it was his mid 50s, he decided to buy a second house in Lake County. So Lake County is a small area just north of San Francisco, where most of the people of San Francisco usually have a residential house over there. So it was a big house with a lot of nut tree, walnut, vineyard of Chardonnay, and he decided as well to do to harvest the fruit when he's off and just enjoy the life when he's not in San Francisco. But in the beginning of the 80s, there was a big crisis in terms of fruit, and it was not very useless. It was useless to harvest the fruit and sell them. So he decided maybe I can produce my own products. So we have a vineyard of Chardonnay. He was over there since a couple of years, so he knows few people over there. So he decided to buy fruit to make wine. And like that, he did the first wine. It was the Kendall Jackson Vineyards Reserve Chardonnay. So the first vintage was 1982. And what is funny about this story, it didn't ferment all the sugar on the first vintage. So the wine was quite off-dry. But you need to see that at this time, California, usually American people doesn't drink wine. It was mainly beer. So it was a perfect introduction to a lot of people for the wine. So that's why all start with the Kendall Jackson. But there was another story why it became so popular and famous in USA is because at this time, the president of the States was Donald Reagan. And before it was governor of California. So he wanted to push one from California. And luckily, quite mysterious way, it was the favorite wine of his wife, Nancy. So after a few years, the wine was already in the White House. So in terms of marketing, it was huge, and that's why the wine was spread in most of the American house. And now this wine, the Chardonnay, is the most selling wine in USA since 27 years. So that's why, and that's why it's quite interesting because it touched different generations, of course, but the style changed a bit. So before it was like off-dry, now it became drier and drier. Before it was more American oak, now we use more French oak, and that's why all the story of Kendall Jackson start. And so Jess Jackson, after he used to be lower, he liked to make some. He did sometimes some business lunch or dinner, and he used to enjoy French wine. And what he liked in French wine is the freshness, the acidity, what we were talking about before. And that's why he decided to invest in a lot of vineyard and a lot of winery that were close to the sea, maximum 10 miles, so 25 kilometers maximum, or high in mountains. So all the ones that we're going to taste today will be that. So the Chardonnay, the Pinot Noir and Syrah, we are very close to the Pacific Ocean. And the Cabernet Sauvignon, it should be, we will be in the mountains, in the Mayacamas, so just north of San Francisco.
So it's like traveling from the Pacific Ocean to the mountains in California, no? This tasting.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's very good for that. And we can see really the difference of the region in terms of aroma as well. So after that, now they invest in a lot of property. So we have main focus on California and Oregon, but as well some estates in Oregon. So in Oregon, in Italy, in France, and Australia. So Jess Jackson passed away in 2011, and now is his second wife, Barbara Benke, and their 3 children, who took over the property. So it's still family-owned wine business, and yeah, So meticulous winemaking, all our vineyards are sustainable, and Jackson family play a very strong role on all is sustainable, because I think especially in California with the fire, with the climate change, we need really to change all the approach that we have in the vineyard.
But they start to be sustainable for a few years, or this is how they do it from the beginning of the...
It takes time. So I think it's since 2010, then all our vineyards are sustainable.
Okay.
But you have some property where already sustainable in the late 80s or middle 90s.
In Romania, we are still not focused on the sustainability. So there are players that are making like new style wine and not focusing, but then there are a lot of small ones that are trying to do something. So it's very interesting to know and to study about the sustainability and the techniques that one winery has to do to be sustainable. So maybe
yeah, sorry.
Sorry, maybe the Romanians can be inspired by Jackson family and learn from the techniques that you are doing in the vineyard.
Yeah, but for us it was, I think, is really the spirit of Jess Jackson, the founder of the company. He say, if you want to have a good wine, you need as well to have some good fruit on the vineyard. So you need to take care about what you have on the ground. So that's why, and after sustainability is as well kind of economic way as well, because it's a way to reduce the use of water. You use more like a solar system or thing like that, renewable energy. But after it's a choice. But I think in California it need to be done because it becomes more and more complicated. But
yes.
So,
every year.
If you want, we can put the map of California, Alex.
Of California. Oh. Hopefully we will. Alex? No?
Yeah, because California is really a big state. You can see north to the south is around 1,300 kilometers. So I'm comparing with France because I'm French, is like north to the south. And you can see in France, you have different vineyards in France. If you go more in the north, you have Champagne, you have Burgundy. After you have the Rhone Valley, you have the Provence. And in these different regions, you have different climate and different grapes. So in California is a little bit the same. But what you can see, most of the vineyard will be on the Pacific Ocean side. And it's more, and this is where more you're going to find some quality wines. You can find a lot of bulk wine more in the Central Valley, when more you're inland, but more the quality wine will be more close to the ocean, because it can be very warm if you're a little bit more inland. If you see the pink part is the more the historical part, I would say that that we produce wine since a long time, is Sonoma and Napa Valley. So we are just north of San Francisco. So Sonoma is mainly Chardonnay, Pinot Noir. Napa Valley is mainly Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot. You can find some Chardonnay as well. And for example, Napa Valley represents only 5% of the production, but it represents 25% of the sales. So that's why it's very historical and very important area of the wine industry of California. And if you go down the green part, you're going to have what we have is a cool climate of Monterey, of Santa Barbara, that where we can produce more the cool climate grapes like a Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, or Syrah. And Monterey is very young appellation. Is only start really to have a big boom in the wine only since 20 years. And in fact, it was Jess Jackson, the founder of the company, who was one of the first to invest in this, because before there was nothing, but he sees the potential of the wine over there. You have a few ideas about it, but if you go after, we can swap after, Alex, the next page. So that is more or less the soil that you have. you can see it can be brown, and so it's quite warm, more inland. You have a mountain chain, what is green, so that's why it's more fresher. And after you have as well, close to the Pacific Ocean, you can profit about some sea breeze, and that's why it's the most suitable vineyard that you can find over there. And like I tell you, most of our vineyard will be along really the Pacific Ocean, north to the south, so from Sonoma until Santa Barbara. Okay. Have you any questions about California or?
I have a question about the first wine, but then I will ask you later. So
yeah.
So the history of California itself is like more new, let's say. If we are talking about French wine or Italian wine, we are saying that, let's take, for instance, France. It's doing wine for centuries. But then for USA, it's doing wine, actually really doing it since after the Prohibition, and more constant since the 1960s, right?
Yeah, but in fact, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because California wine was not very lucky, if you can see. So I think the first vineyard was planted, it was in 1709 or something like that, beginning of the 18th century, by the monks who come from Mexico, from Central America. And they built some missionary with some and they need some grapes for the wine for the church, and like that they start to plant some vineyard a little bit along the Pacific coast in USA. And but you need to know that there was a big boom as well in 1850 when there was a gold rush. So you have a lot of people from Europe as well. Hungary, French, Italian, Romania, I'm pretty sure, come in USA looking for the American dream, and they arrive first in New York and the East Coast, but after they go in the California, and they're looking for some to do some extra business in the gold and to be successful. So that's why you have a lot of vineyard and a lot of colony. For example, if you go more in Mendocino, so it's a small appellation north of Sonoma, you can see that you have a strong Italian community as well. And that's why you have the Zinfandel grapes. That is a typical grape that you can find as well in Italy. And as well, you have a Hungarian wine. It's the father of California, Szeptyny, and that's why he developed as well the wine industry. And I think at the end of the 19th century, California wine was very famous all over the world, and he was present in Paris, for example, in the exposition, and won some gold medals. But the problem, after you have the Prohibition, so 90% of the production of California fell down because they can only produce fruit, but after they have too much fruit, so a lot of vineyards close, and they need to start again just at the beginning of the 60s. So that's why they are unlucky, because since the beginning there was a huge potential. Since more than 150 years they were already famous. And now we go back to the normal now, and they make some fantastic wine. So you have some nice introduction wine, and after you have the wine with a huge quality and rich potential that is very a pleasure to taste them.
Yeah. So do we taste or?
Yeah.
I told you I'm looking forward for tasting.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to start with Kendall Jackson. Reserve Chardonnay.
I will show the people what we are tasting. So we have the 2017 Chardonnay. What I want to ask you about this wine, when I read the tasting notes, I noticed that this wine is made from 4 or 5 regions. So you don't have only one appellation here. You have like a blend of more appellation. Can you tell us more about this, because it's very interesting for one Chardonnay? Let's tell to the people that Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve Chardonnay is #1 Chardonnay in USA, right?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So, and because they are #1 as well, they create a style. So people expect to have the kind of the same taste, or to know what to expect. It's like if you go in the supermarket or something like that, if you take a bottle of Moët et Chandon champagne, you know that this one or the one that you're going to buy in next month or next year will be pretty the same. So it was really the idea of Kendall Jackson, say, okay, you like this one, you test once this one, you like it. We promise that we're not going to change it a lot, so it's going to keep the same flavor. We don't change. You have a little change, of course, in terms of the vintage. So that's why I tell you before, the wine tend to be a little bit more drier, a little bit more fresher, but is what we expect about it. So it's what is a slightly oaky style of Chardonnay, with a lot of things going on it. So that's why if we buy now a bottle of this wine, and maybe in 6 months or in 1 year, it will be quite similar, and that's why it's still very good for a lot of people, because they are not disappointed by some changement or things like that as well.
They know what they are getting when they are buying it. So this is why number one Chardonnay from USA, because people like to have the same taste all over the year. What would you pair? I had Olivier, has an interview on Desprevin page, and where I asked what should we pair with this wine, and you told us that salmon, it's perfect, but we didn't get the how was it, the winter leaves. What is winter leaves for you? Because in Romania we don't have winter leaves, we have like cabbage and things like this.
No, it's true. Winter leaf, so is just the salad that you can have more at the end of the year, or you can use maybe watercress or something like that, a little bit more grassy, a little bit more richer, and oily herbs, and that's why you can play a little bit with the texture. But you can do as well with this kind of pasta, allegrini, or with cream, for example. Crab salad as well. So something very easy. Me, I really like this wine because it's a wine very expressive. So on the nose, you have a lot of things going on. You have a lot of tropical fruit, this kind of mango, pineapple fruits, but you have a little bit of freshness as well, more on the palate than going to cut through. So you have this lemon, lime things, and after you have the oak going to bring some spice. So usually we say the oak is just to bring some extra flavor, but here it's just vanilla, cinnamon, just a little bit touch, but it's more here to bring more the creaminess on the wine. And when we were talking about different regions in this wine, in fact, each region going to give its impact. If you go more, this wine, mainly the fruit comes from Santa Barbara and Monterey, and is more cool climate. So the Chardonnay from this area going to give more this citrus fruit character. But if you have some fruit from Sonoma, it will be a little bit more this kind of tropical fruit. So that's why it's kind of art of blending this kind of fruit to have the perfect match and the perfect style of wine that we want as well.
So for me, it's very interesting. When I first had it, I don't remember if I had the 2017 or other vintage, but for me it was very oaky. Now, because it has almost, let's say, 3 years in the bottle, it's more settled, and it's like having this slightly salty flavors. When I first smell it, for me it was like yellow apples or apple pie, things like this. But then it comes with some saltiness. Very interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and Israeli, I think, is more in the palate. I think in the palate, after we already this citrus character who gives this impression, like you said, about saltiness, but it stays in the mouth, and that's why it's very interesting.
Yeah, and in the mouth, then you have the freshness, and then the after finish is from, I think it's from the oak, a bit sweet, a bit. It's changed. It's very interesting. I will taste it later alone.
Yeah.
Is it true that in USA Chardonnay was thought to be the housewife's kind of wine? When they were taking the babies after they took the babies to sleep, they were pouring a glass of Chardonnay just to relax.
Yeah. Yeah, of course. No. But it's this kind of image of this wine that is this wine you can really drink by itself. So it's like very easy going, relaxed. Or imagine you when you finish your work, you just want to have a chill wine like that, and you finish, and for aperitif. So it's good like that.
So you pop a bottle of Chardonnay and the night starts. So Alex is eager for us to taste the Pinot Noir. Yes, I have here a special glass for Pinot Noir made from Riedel. So we are thanking our friends from Riedel, from Vinimondo, the importer that has given us these nice glasses. And the wine that we are tasting is La Crema Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. What should we find in this wine? What we will find?
So here with the Pinot Noir, I bring a lot of red fruit, this kind of raspberry, strawberry, a little bit more ripe in the ripe way. En plus, is a vintage 2015, so it's a one with a bit of evolution character. So, but you can find this kind of tomato leaf, this herbaceous character, like tomato, this kind of rhubarb, slightly earthy character. Sometimes it can remind me a little bit this kind of wine from Europe, because it's not only powerful and food forward. It shows a bit more this earthy and savory character, a little bit more this kind of dry herbs, rosemary character as well.
So I will say this in Romanian. Când am mirosit vinul ăsta, a fost revelație. So when I smell it, was a revelation because it's full of flavors like spices, but spices like black pepper, white pepper, rosemary, leafy stuff, things like this. You have some fruit, but it's very, very interesting. It reminds me of very good quality gins where you find a lot of botanicals there. So it's very, maybe it's not so fruity kind of Pinot Noir, but it's more complex and evolved kind of Pinot Noir. It's amazing. It's just, I just love it. I fell in love. Sorry, Alex. I fell in love of this wine. I will drink it myself.
It's good as well to see a wine with aging. So with 5 years, imagine it's like a Pinot Noir, because in fact, like Crema, the estate, they make the wine not like Kendall Jackson. I would say like Crema, they tend to do the wine a bit like we do in Burgundy. So that's why you're going to have two different styles. I think Kendall Jackson is a wine that will be more food forward with a big explosion of the first nose. When La Crema, what is very interesting, we have really on the palate, and it's really the palate going to make the difference and show a bit the complexity of the wine as well.
Oh, it's just amazing, just amazing. And in taste, for me, it has different character from the European ones, because you have a bit more, if I may say, body. It's not so light body. So a Pinot Noir, for the people that are looking, it's a very light body. You don't find the power and the depth like, for instance, a Cabernet Sauvignon. But this one, it has everything. You have a building up nose. You are feeling fruits. You are feeling spices. You are feeling a lot of things that make you really want to taste it. And then in taste, you have a longer taste and more a bit more body than a normal Pinot Noir. Very good. I'm impressed. This I have to say that this was the wine that I was waiting to taste tonight. So I'm really impressed.
Stay with this one, yeah. But
I will say this to everyone. It's okay.
Like you said, you have different layer of aroma, but it's all well integrated. So you don't have something coming here and after alcohol and oak, spice, things like that. I think all is very well integrated, yes. And you have really this kind of explosion coming through. And that's why it's nice to see after 5 years to see this potential, because usually we say California wines, is there a potential in terms of wine and this wine can show, and some other wine from California can show that if you have a good acidity, if you have a good oak aging and good fruit, the wine can age beautifully as well.
It's very, very nice. So tell me, what should I be cooking after we finish our live for this wine? I will go to the supermarket and buy something specially to pair it with this wine. What would be your opinion about it?
It depends of you. If you're fancy with fish, with a red wine, you can have a meat like a monkfish wrapped in pancetta with marjora juice with some root vegetable, things like that. It can work very well. Or if you prefer a meat more like a breast of kale, very it's still a savory meat, but with a bit more stronger. And with breast of kale, you can with a pipurée, marjoram jus, something very fresh, very easy. When we do pairing, what is interesting is more the juice, how it will be, and because sometimes the juice is sometimes more important than the meat or the main product. So that's why with the fish as well could be good, because the Pinot Noir, and Pinot Noir in general doesn't have tannin, big structure on the mouth, and this is what sometimes is a problem with red wine with fish. Is all about tannin. So this one, like you say, is very ripe and smooth. So that's why if you like a red wine with a fish, with a monkfish would be fantastic as well.
I love fish, and I love pairing fish with red wine. I have to confess that I'm eating more fish than meat. So always when I can pair this kind of wine with fish, it's great. But you have to have a more, let's say, grassy fish, more fatty fish, something more with a little bit more tasty, savory, as you say.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
Great. Let's see the Syrah. What do you say?
Yeah, Syrah. So is a winery was created by Kendall Jackson. So this Syrah, now we are more in the south of California. We are in Santa Barbara, and like I tell you, Kendall Jackson play a very strong role, play in California. It was ready to educate people to the wine, and they create a lot of things around the matching wine. And Syrah is not very a popular grape you can find usually in California, but usually the Syrah you can find in France, for example, in Rhone Valley.
Yep.
You can find as well in Australia, that is very famous in Barossa Valley, for example. I think in Romania you do as well some Syrah. You have in South Africa, but in California it was not the most dominant grape. But you have a new wave of producer of winemaker located in Santa Barbara. So where come from this wine? Where they see the potential of the Syrah. And why I'm talking about matching wine is because in California, in fact, you have a strong Asian influence, and the Syrah working very well when you have some soya sauce. So that's why they decided as well to develop as well the Syrah grape over there, because it can be a key grapes for the future and for the gastronomy in California. Me, I really like this grape because I will say is a structure a bit like a Pinot Noir. It can be very juicy. This one, for example, is very like a raspberry, but very floral as well. A lot of violet and rose character. Spine, quite a bit meaty, so a bit more stronger flavors. But the tannin are not harsh. They are very velvety. So you have a very nice texture. So really, the wine that is very suitable to all young palate or to people that don't know really wine or want to have an introduction, because it's a wine very easygoing, very smooth, but very fruit driven as well.
I agree a lot with you. And if I would have this wine in blind tasting, for sure I would say it's a Syrah. So it's very true to the grape variety. It's very interesting because it's smoother. I think it's smoother than the French ones that I tried, if I have to compare it. It's very, very nice. I enjoy it. Let's make a bet. Let's bet which wine would be Alex's favorite at the end of the tasting. What do you say?
I think it will be this one. I don't know him well, but I think he can be this one.
Okay, I will taste also the Cabernet Sauvignon, and I will tell you later. My first impression was that this one would be, but I will taste also the Cabernet Sauvignon and tell you. What do you say about what should we pair with a Syrah, with this floral and more velvety Syrah? What kind of food?
We can play it a bit sometime with a food a bit similar of Pinot Noir if we want, but he show a lot of spice, a lot of peppery, a lot of savory character, very like a meridional. You can play with a bit more stronger meat easily. You can go as well with a breast of duck if you want, with some root vegetable and just a fresh juice. It could be nice. What else you can play? Easy to finish, with a cheese. You can play as well with lamb. Lamb as well, it should be nice because lamb have very strong flavors and can play with a spicy character. It all depends how you want to cook the meat as well.
But if you have to choose like a vegetarian dish, do you have something in mind? I think some aubergine, maybe something with aubergine with like tomato sauce and some spices could be like a. I don't know. There are these Turkish Arab kind of dishes with very slow cooked aubergines. Would you say that it fits?
Yeah, completely. You can go as well. You can play it a bit with this kind of olives of meridional ingredients that you can find in the meridional kitchen food as well. All this kind of olive, aubergine. Me, I'm from Nice, from south in France. So you can add some how do you say, tomato, tomato just stuffed with some vegetable. Sometimes you use more meat inside, but you can use as well this kind of tapenade flavors that can play as well with that.
Okay, great. Let's go to the last wine, and then to invite Alex to tell us also his opinion. So here we have a Cabernet Sauvignon. I informed you very bad because they told me from the importer that they had 2017, but I have here the 2013. So I'm sorry for this.
No, it's fine. No, it's good. It's good to have the occasion to test that. So Jackson. So we are in Sonoma, so just north of San Francisco, and we are close to most of the food that we use will be mountains. So Sonoma is a bit a tricky region because you have a lot of fog. So you really need to find the perfect emplacement for the vineyard, because if not, the fog took over the vineyard and you don't have enough contact with the sun, and the grape doesn't grow up very nicely. So the vineyard you can find in Sonoma will be along the coast or along the river, find this kind of microclimate, or in mountain in order to be above the fog. And because you're in the mountains, you are closer to the sun, and the fruits want to be protected by the sun, so they start to build a kind of like a turtle. They have a kind of carapace, so they have a very thin grapes, thin fruit, but with quite a thick skin. So, and what you have in the skin is more the structure of the wine, is all the tannin. So that's why the wine from mountains have much more structure and more body. And that's why when you taste this wine, you can feel really this sensation quite tight. And that's why it reminds me a little bit more of the kind of Europe-ish character. If you taste the Cabernet Sauvignon, it shows a lot of this kind of bell pepper. You have a lot of fruit, this kind of blackcurrant, blackberry nut, but you have really this kind of bell pepper note, this kind of vegetal note that is quite typical, I will say, from Bordeaux sometimes. And with the tight structure, so I think for me is really a surprising wine. And 2013 was a beautiful vintage, fantastic potential, and when you taste this one, you have a nice acidity, nice freshness, and the structure is here. So I think it's the wine that you can wait it a bit more if you want.
This wine we will maybe buy six bottles and just to have them. I think it's very beautiful, and I think it's very, very interesting with meat dishes, and like heavy meat, like lamb, like beef, like things like this, or maybe like the Christmas kind of food. A lot of meat. In Romania, we are eating a lot of meat for Christmas, so I'm thinking that this wine could be a perfect match for the Christmas dinner or lunch. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. You can see a little bit bigger for special occasion. A nice beef Wellington, for example.
Yeah,
the
very
beef
nice.
stuff. That could be nice as well.
Very nice. So the Chardonnay and the Syrah, the people can buy it. We are making selections on our webpage. So we are selling 3 wines in a box, and the Chardonnay and the Syrah next to another wine. The people can buy it in our selection that it's called From California with Love, and I think they would just love this kind of wines because they are very straightforward. They are talking with the people. They are giving them a lot of flavors, a lot of stuff there. And then I think that La Crema Pinot Noir is for the people that want to experiment, the people that want to see other kind of Pinot Noirs. And I think the Cabernet Sauvignon is for more like Alex kind of wine. I think the people that want tannin, want structure, want power, like.
Did you say Alex?
And Alex appeared.
And Alex appeared, you see. Actually, because you were wondering about my opinion, the truth is I adapt very powerful to the weather. So if we had this discussion midwinter when it's really cold and you would want a full, strong wine, as you said, Olivier, that you can feel it in your jaw, I think the answer would be Cabernet Sauvignon. But since it's quite warm here,
like the Pinot Noir.
At least now, it's a battle between one of my all-time favorite Shiraz and the Pinot Noir, and which is surprising for me because I'm actually not a fan of Pinot Noir. I don't have that complexity in my palate to really appreciate the Pinot Noir. The stronger Shiraz is more on my island. So,
I remember me because when I was sommelier, I meet sometimes some customers. They tell me they don't like Pinot Noir because they find that too acidic, and because they have the vision of the Pinot Noir in Burgundy and a lot of freshness. But it's true when you give a Pinot Noir from USA, from California, they like it because it's very ripe, very smooth, and it's really a big difference. I think it's really a style that show it perfectly.
I think La Crema, actually, when I was translating the text on La Crema, it already made me very curious because I love the positioning of absolutely just admitting you are one of the best, admitting within hyphens, So actually, I was quite curious, and we waited for the tasting to try it, but it's surprising. It's actually very good for a Pinot Noir. Yeah.
He doesn't like champagne. He doesn't like champagne, and he says that he doesn't understand Pinot Noir. But I think that he didn't have the right Pinot Noir or the right champagne, no?
Yeah, you were very well on it.
We're waiting for it from France, from UK. It's okay. Well, they have our address. It's fine. So, Marina, you said you fell in love with that Pinot Noir. That is to show you I have an open mind. So you're not going to get away with it. We're going to share it and I drink more. So yeah,
that's true.
Good, Olivier. Thank you very much for your presentation. Also, to remind you, we have a full interview, a written interview with Olivier. For those of you that have difficulties in understanding the French English, the accent, the powerful, strong accent, we have a full interview on desprevin.ro, both in Romanian and in English. All the materials on desprevin.ro this week with American wines are both in Romanian and in English. So, come on Desprevin for more information about Sonoma, for everything you want to know about the wineries we have listed now, about their marvelous wines. And do I need to say more?
It is like, that was it, folks. Let's drink some wines now.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually,
Yes, I said today because in London it's raining, so me I like to have a wine a little bit more like generous, so ripe. So for
Olivier, I feel pity a bit for you because you are alone and you have 4 bottles of wine opened now.
yeah,
At least we are 2 that we're gonna fight over it, you know.
I think bigger.
Yeah, I envy you actually. Marina.
We are not going to finish all the 4 bottles tonight. I'm sure of that.
Maybe you are not. So thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
Very insightful. Thank you, Olivier.
Thank you very much, Marina.
I hope it was okay with the presentation. It didn't go as we exactly planned, but I hope we managed. Thank you guys for watching. And what to say? Come on, Desprevin. We're gonna have another great interview next week with Mr. Chuck. And that's it. Our first live in English. So, Olivier,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Have a great evening.
Yes.